Hey, it's Francis Lam, host of the Splendid Table, and today we have in the studio the great actor Tony Shalhoub, beloved actor. He was a star of Monk and The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and he actually has a new show on CNN called Breaking Bread. Come on in. So hey, Tony, it's so great to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on board.
I am super excited. I've so enjoyed watching the show. So, okay, you have this new TV show. It's called Breaking Bread. And on one hand, it's literally about you eating bread.
Well, eating and exploring bread different places around the country and around the world.
Yeah. So bread being, I mean, obviously we have seen people travel the world and eat with other people. But the idea that you've chosen to focus it on bread, I was thinking about like why that, maybe I just love carbs. But I also feel like there's something special about eating like a staple food with people. It's not like their celebration food or
yes.
It's about eating their daily food. So
yes, that had a lot to do with it. It's about sustenance and in a lot of ways because we're living in these insane times and we're all seemingly like running at a breakneck pace and we are navigating all kinds of unusual and new kind of stresses and stressors, whether it's social media or technology, AI, the mystery of AI.
Yeah.
This felt like a way to kind of get back to basics, and of course, really to be totally honest about this, I don't really think the world needs another food show. There's plenty, So
there are people listening out there. Come on, man.
Your show, that's another thing. That's a good.
We'll save you.
I was talking about a travel food show. In some ways, I think, okay, that's enough. That's enough about talking about food, But on the other hand, I didn't want. My intention was not to make a show about bread.
Sure.
And that's why it's called Breaking Bread, because it's about the gesture of the work that goes into it, the simple ingredients that are required, but done differently in all these different places, and how that kind of connects us instead of dividing us. And so that was the idea. Like, let's get back to like the simpler things, appreciating a moment and a food that I think we can pretty much all agree on.
Sure.
People have a lot of opinions about all kinds of different, food or styles of cooking, nouvelle cuisine or whatever, different ethnic foods. But bread is that thing that everyone reaches for.
Yeah. Well, especially now that you've moved from LA back to New York, everyone can agree on bread.
Exactly. And then of course the timing seemed right because during the pandemic, as we all know, a lot of people, during the lockdown, a lot of people were at home, stuck at home, and young people, all people got into making bread.
Yeah.
And sourdough and experimenting and sharing that on their various devices and social media, and bread became this whole thing. And I think it's fortunately for all of us, it's stuck.
Yeah.
And people are still hanging with it.
Yeah. It's so interesting that phenomenon happened for a lot of reasons. Certainly, because you couldn't go to the store, right? Or for a long time, it felt like you couldn't go to the store and so on and so forth, and you needed bread. But I think for so many people, it was also this moment to feel, I don't want to sit here and talk about, the silver linings of the horrible pandemic.
Yeah.
But I did think it was a moment where people were obviously feeling disconnected from the world, from one another.
Yeah.
And you need to feel connected to something. And so for people to have a sense of feeling reconnected to a home, a hearth.
Yeah.
And bread being a symbol of that, but also being a thing that like, I can make this thing and still keep us as a family or me as a person going.
Exactly. And also that it's that thing you're doing with your hands.
Yeah.
That doesn't involve a keyboard.
Yeah.
And doesn't involve just your thumbs. There's that level, that that of instant gratification.
Yeah.
I put this together. I watch it rise, whatever. I let it sit. I bake it. It smells amazing. It comes right onto my table, into my hands, into my face, and I think that provided a lot of not just sustenance, but of comfort in a way.
Yeah. There's something too about it's baking bread is different than just cooking. To me anyway, emotionally. Like I feel like there's almost a sense of nurturing. Like you set the dough in motion, but then the yeast or the sourdough has to do its thing. So I don't know.
Because it's live.
Yeah, there's something really satisfying about like coming back to them like, oh yeah, it's really happening. The thing is really happening. You know?
And it's most of the time it's happening differently because there's so many different variables that go into it. You can't just trust that if you do it exactly the same way, it's going to come out the same. It's just not because of the temperature or the amount of precipitation in the air or the age of the flour, or name 700 different factors that go into it. But yet it's an experiment every time. The result's never going to be terrible. It's going to be either really good, fantastic, or mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's so and I think people appreciate that.
Yeah. It seemed to me as a viewer, you had personal reasons for this show as well, in the sense that you were trying not just to go around the world to see what other people were doing, but you were seeking something about your own family, your own heritage maybe. So maybe let's go there. Where did you grow up, and what was your food life like when you were?
Well, I grew up in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Go Pack, go!
Yeah, thank you.
I'm a rabid Packers fan.
I'm on my way there to see a game in a couple of weeks. Yeah, and so it was a large Lebanese American family. I'm one of 10 children. And on our table there was always that mixture of traditional Lebanese food, but also of American food, Midwestern food.
Yeah.
So we alternated between, hummus and kibbeh and labneh and bratwurst and, grilled cheese sandwiches and hot dogs. So it was an eclectic kitchen. But when they did prepare the Middle Eastern food, it was cherished. And also, and the really wonderful part of this was that our friends, our neighbors, the kids who were our friends down the street, they loved coming to our house because they weren't finding this anywhere else. This was really interesting, special stuff. They became more and more adventurous, trying more of this kind of food, and so it was fun to share it with people who were new to it.
I love hearing that because that's such the counterpoint and not one I experienced a lot growing up, and not one I hear people talking about when they are, immigrant families or the children of immigrant families. Like, oftentimes it's, we were kind of ashamed of our food because it was different than other people, or other kids would make fun of it, make fun of us for it. So I love hearing that, your friends would love coming over for that.
Yeah, that was not our experience. I mean, at first they were a little bit like, whoa, wait, what is that? Never seen that, don't know what's in there. But then once they took a bite, they were, literally hooked. Yeah. They would come back like, why isn't there? They'd come back a week or two later. It's like, where's that stuff? Why isn't it? Because obviously it wasn't made every day, every week. Sure. It came around and intermittently. But we were kind of the cool, the cool house that had the bizarre, wonderful food.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, actually, so we do have some items here for us to taste.
Yay.
I want to have a bite together, and let's keep chatting. So here we have some minutia. Did I pronounce that right?
It's like the bread with za'atar in it, right?
Yeah. And we have a few versions. We have that with the za'atar. This has the lamajin as the bottom of the beef, and this is muamara. So take your pick.
I'm going to have a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Is that?
Yeah, no, that's...
Thank you. Who did you do this for me?
I did this for you. Well, we got it for you. We didn't. I didn't learn how to make Lebanese food for you, unfortunately. But
okay.
So these are flatbreads, typical Lebanese flatbreads with these different toppings.
Right. Normally, when we ate bread with za'atar oil on a flatbread like this, it wasn't folded over. We would just eat it open face. I mean, I love it this way too. But this was when we were kids. I have to say, I love za'atar now. I mean, thank you. This was not this was not one of those things that we gravitated to when we were very young. We would watch the adults eat this, and they were not going to get this in front of us when we were very little. Definitely an acquired taste.
Well, the za'atar, right? Sesame seeds and dried herbs like oregano, these are pungent herbs.
Sumac.
And sumac, like this sort of like tangy sumac.
So and lemon, that sort of lemon feel to it. So when you're young, it was pretty potent, I remember not really loving that, not going to go near that.
But that's when you reach for it.
Almost like a rite of passage. So there was a day, and I can't remember the exact moment, whether I was 7 or 8 years old, whatever it was, where maybe it was like the last thing. It was the only thing that was hanging out there, and I was hungry. So I grabbed it, or maybe my father or mother, sweet talked me into it. And there was just that moment when the coin dropped, and it was like, damn, that is good. And then once that happened, and I know it was like something about our palates were ready at that certain moment. Once that happened, there's no going back. We just we're craving this then, from then on, and still to this day.
Yeah.
This is awfully good.
That's a good one? Does it taste like the one from your 7-year-old childhood table?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. I mean, this is heavy on the za'atar, which is fine with me. We used to call this dirty bread when we were kids because it looked like they were sprinkling soil on top of them. But that didn't stop us from eating it.
It's not stopping you now.
No.
So you were, your family is in the Lebanese diaspora. Like you said, growing up in Wisconsin, did you feel very connected to your heritage? Did you feel like, yeah, this is my family, but we didn't know a lot of other families around us? Or did you? I'm just thinking because now, this many years later, you're making this show, and a lot of it is about sort of seeing what food is like in other communities in Lebanese diaspora and trying to figure out your family's story of how they came to the United States. And
right. Well, we did have some knowledge about their journey, my father's journey with his siblings. But we were able to, when we went to Marseille, because that was the port they had to stop at between, after leaving Beirut and before arriving at Ellis Island. This was back in 1920. They, as many immigrants, as almost all the immigrants were from that area, had to go through Marseille. It was kind of like a processing point.
Oh, interesting.
It's a big port city, obviously.
In the south of France, yeah.
Yes, in the south of France. And they processed the immigrants. And they were coming from everywhere, from all over the Middle East, from the other points in Europe and maybe the Far East. And they were, some of them actually, when they made that stop for however many weeks, however long it took to get them onto another boat to their destination, some of them just decided to stay in Marseille, which I learned this on our trip there. And because there were, they needed labor, and it was a port city. There was work.
Yeah.
And there was it was France, so there was a lot of food and fish, and vineyards and all of that. And so, by all of those, by some of those immigrants staying there, it grew into an incredible melting pot.
Yeah. It's funny because when you think of these cosmopolitan cities, like New York, like London, right? Like you think of these places that are known as being cities that are we're global cities, right?
Yeah.
They're emblematic of their country, but part of what makes them emblematic of their country is they are a symbol of sort of people from around the world wanting to be there and coming there and staying there.
And figuring out the way to not just coexist, but to enhance their lives and share ideas and create the fusion of different kinds of food and cuisines. This was true when we went to Brazil. We were in Sao Paulo. Mm-hmm. I'd never been to Brazil before, but I knew that there was I had read there's an enormous Lebanese population there. It was one of the main places during the diaspora. Also an enormous Japanese population. And so like New York and like Marseille, Sao Paulo, incredible melting pot. It's just electric. Yeah. I loved it. The people were great. I mean, not just the Lebanese community there, which we spent a lot of time with, but the African people that come down from Bahia in the northern part of Brazil, to work and open restaurants in Sao Paulo. It was a fascinating couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I can't stop eating this bread, by the way.
No, it's there for you. It's there for you. And we got more for you, so don't be shy. But I want to talk about Sao Paulo because I've also never been to Brazil. And it's one of these things, right, when you're not very familiar with the country, you think of Brazil as being full of Brazilians. But like, what is...
Well, you think of Rio, I think, or the Amazon in the north. But, sorry, my mouth is...
Yeah.
I want to ask your listeners' pardon.
Yeah. I'm very glad that you're having this moment with that with the flatbread.
You grew up in the family I did. You just the eating never stops and the talking never stops and the talking while you're eating never stops. When I think traditionally when someone mentioned Brazil, I would think of Rio because of movies that have been done about them. It's a tourist destination, and it's kind of party this that. Sao Paulo is, and I've never been to Rio, and I would love to go to Rio. I have not yet visited there. We didn't have time to make that stop. But Sao Paulo is much different. It's more of a business center, I think you'd say, a cultural center. Mm-hmm. Tourists obviously go there, but it's not exactly known for that. Again, I can't emphasize it. It is massive, this city.
Yeah.
And very diverse, in every way.
But that's the thing that really struck me too. Again, like I said, if you just say Brazil's full of Brazilians, but then you forget that all countries have diversity, right? I think the hallmark of the United States is we are a country of immigrants, migrants, indigenous people, and Africans who were enslaved and brought here against their will, right? And then all their descendants. So that diversity is inherent to who we are. But then we forget, at least I forget sometimes because it's myopic, but other countries have similar stories. So Brazil, there's so much of the African story that we know here in the United States sort of played out also in Brazil, right? So
absolutely, massive slave trade.
And so much immigration as well, yeah.
And immigration, but the slavery there actually ended after ours.
Right.
It was still, I believe, in the 1800s, but a bit later. But now that blending of all of these peoples and all of these peoples and all of these cultures is kind of magical. It affects everything, not just food, but music and art and our architecture, everything.
Yeah.
I really was taken with the country.
So Brazil, I'm fascinated by. It is far away. I want to bring it back a little bit closer to home. I want to take us back to New York City.
Okay.
And I want you to taste this New York City deli rye.
Oh boy, the caraway I see. Isn't it?
So this.
Yeah, that's really smells good.
I love the smell of that caraway. Actually, it's sort of like you when I was a kid. Caraway, for some reason, really kind of I thought it was kind of upsetting. It was an upsetting flavor, but now I'm like, oh, give it to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I was the same way because my dad always loved to buy bakery bread. We didn't. I mean, we did eat store-bought, commercial bread, obviously, but he gravitated more toward bakery bread and the bread that my grandparents and aunts and uncles would make, and this was special, but it was again more of an acquired taste, right?
So I'm tasting it, right, and I definitely get a lot of tanginess, probably from a starter, and you get that caraway, which is like floral and intense. That's the only way. It tastes very floral to me. It's like almost like someone like shoved a bunch of flowers into your face.
Exactly.
It may or may not be something you want, but
they're seeds, so they have a little very subtle, crackle and crunch to it.
That crackle is so nice. But the thing that I'm really keyed in on as I'm tasting it was something that I learned from watching your episode in New York. So this is like such a classic New York bread, right? This is the bread that pastrami sandwiches come on, corned beef sandwiches come on. This is the classic Jewish deli bread forever and ever and ever. So I was so surprised when the baker you met told you that this kind of rye bread is not how rye bread was traditionally made. Rye bread was in the old country, right? Rye bread in the old country was fully rye. It was
dark.
Dense, dark.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until someone we were in New York City and they combined the rye with mostly wheat flour. So this is like light and springy because of the wheat. So
they still consider it rye, but it's a mixture, really.
Yeah.
In this country though, we don't. Dark rye is a little more. People don't gravitate to it really. I don't think as much. When they think of rye bread, they think
it's intense, it's dense, it's like a brick. I mean, I like it. I really love it. In fact,
I love it too.
But it's not what you think of when you put a sandwich on. But then you said this great thing, which was that it's so symbolic of New York because New York is about constant reinvention.
Yeah.
So tell me about your adventures in the city that day and how you see New York being a place of reinvention.
We shot New York for 6 days, but I'm all over the place. And I've lived in New York. This is my second time living in New York, and I feel like I know the city really well, pretty well. I'm adventurous. I like to, try new places. I like to go to different markets. I like to try, different ethnic food, and which is, everywhere in this city. But I have to say, when we were doing the show, I went to places I had never, places that have been around that I did not know about.
Yeah.
And like Mary O's, Irish soda bread.
Yeah, tell our listeners about that place. That place sounded incredible. I wanted to get the soda bread for you today, but they're not open today, unfortunately. No. But tell us their story.
Well, this woman, she's extraordinary. Was down in the East Village. So really quickly, because this actually comes out in our episode, but I can tell the story. She has an Irish pub.
Yeah.
A lot of those in New York, of course. Sure. It's on the Lower East Side. Mary O's Irish pub. And it's doing, is like all Irish pubs, popular with the neighborhood. Yep. And she has a little kitchen in the back, and she serves some food. Well, the pandemic hits. By the way, this woman has 6 children. She's from Ireland, of course, got this great accent. Her husband, I think, works in, I don't know, Seattle or Alaska or somewhere.
Oh, wow.
So she kind of has to run this place and raise these kids a lot on her own.
Wow.
And the pandemic hit. And, of course, there's the lockdown, and her pub has to close down. She's got bills to pay. She's got kids to feed. She's scrambling, right? And some of her patrons, one of the things that she was making in her kitchen at the bar was this Irish soda bread and Irish soda bread scones, and she would just feed it to people, and they loved it, as well as the pints of beer.
Yeah.
And so someone said, hey, you got to, pivot and sell your soda bread. We'll help you. The neighbor, her patrons, the neighbors, they helped her.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a very moving story. And she started making the bread, and they could sell it out in front of the place, of their establishment. But then they started doing this sort of mail order thing where they could ship it to different people, and people could order it online, and someone helped her set this up. And it exploded.
Yeah.
Because this product is so fantastic. And then, so she was able to survive the pandemic. Her kids helped her, the neighbors helped her patrons helped her. And she's tireless, this woman. But so then after the soda bread, scones and bread caught fire, someone said, you should just open a soda bread shop. She's like, no, I've got my hands full. The pub is going again. And someone said, this person kept, revisiting this conversation and said, hey, there's a little place open like 6 blocks away. It's this perfect size. It's for rent. Why don't you just take a look at it? No, I don't want to. So they talked her into going there. She walks in the door. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's got a little thing in the stove. It's very simple. It's probably no wider than your studio, maybe even narrower. Gorgeous, with brick walls.
Yeah.
Lower East Side.
Classic Lower East Side, New York. Yeah.
And so she opened this shop. And while still running the pub, she does the soda bread in the shop in the morning. And when she only makes a certain amount. When it sells out, it's done. She closes the door, locks the door, walks down 6 blocks to the pub, opens the pub, and this goes on every day.
Yeah, this is that immigrant work ethic.
It is. And she loves it.
Yeah,
The other thing about Mary is that and I can't quite explain why, but she has to make the soda bread all herself. She won't. The kids are there, her other employees but she's got to do it because it has to be her.
The magic is in her hands, or
she's got the fairy dust or whatever. I don't know what it is, but she has to know that it's hers and that she's a perfectionist. Right?
Yeah.
And it is good. And then, of course, she serves it with this gorgeous, like Irish butter, salted butter, and her homemade blackberry jam. I mean, it's like too much.
Yeah.
And
I love hearing this because Irish soda bread is not a food that is so revered, globally, that people feel like, oh, the craft of it, oh, the touch of it, it's this like thing that you can fetishize the craft over.
It grew out of a wheat shortage in Ireland. They were hungry and there was some blight with the wheat or something. So they had to turn to that other, agent, and so they used the baking soda.
Oh, the baking soda. Yeah.
So it's just a whole, when the historical context kind of makes it even more special, really.
Yeah. I've always wondered because, you think of like traditional food as being, or old foods, right? Like yeast is very old, sourdough is very old. And baking soda seems more modern, although it's been around for like 300 years.
Yeah.
But for this to be like sort of a national bread using baking soda, but it's sort of part of this story of like, there was a need, there was hunger, and it was adaptation.
A lot of I think foods and certainly breads come out of that same tradition. People had to make do with what they had. Sometimes it was that a group of people were being moved from one area to another area, forcibly moved.
Right.
Or,
matzah, so the story of matzah, right? Like,
yeah, it's about, it has to do with war stories and one group conquering another group. And, it's about the resourcefulness of
people,
people.
Of cultures. Yeah. I love that. There is one more bread on the table, and I want to get to that as well. It's the French baguette. And
what are the odds?
And I guess there are lots of origin stories of the French baguette, and it's not super clear which one is the accurate one, but one I've heard that I actually thought was really interesting was, again, so the baguette is sort of the symbol of France, right? The symbol of this great traditional French bread, but it was only popularized in like the 1920s. It's like basically,
is that right? I'm not sure I knew that.
Something like that. And apparently it became popular because they had instituted this like pro-labor law where you couldn't run 24 hours a day. You couldn't make people work 24 hours a day. So you had to stop working from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. And so traditional bakers who would, that messed up their cycle with like the sourdough and peanut sourdough, whatever. So basically someone had to develop a bread that you could show up at 4 make the dough, let it rise, form it, bake it, and have it be ready by 6 o'clock whenever people came in for breakfast.
Yeah, people come in lining
so
up
the
outside.
baguette, apparently, it's yeasted. It's instead of a sourdough, so it doesn't take that long, and the long shape means it bakes really fast.
Yeah,
it's not a big thick bowl.
It's not a thick bowl. Yeah,
it's a long shape, a lot of surface area, so it bakes really fast, it cooks really fast, and then it became this, in classic French fashion, this thing that like craftspeople obsess over and want to perfect. And you met what seemed like an amazing bread baker in Marseille.
Pierre.
Tell us about his.
I went there with my daughter. My daughter joined me. My daughter Josie joined me on that trip to Marseille, and we visited this baker. He makes an amazing baguette. He also has like farmland outside of the city, so he's got the whole thing from the whole process, controlling what's happening with the wheat.
Oh, he
growing
his own wheat,
bringing it into in the back of his bakery.
Okay.
And there's a the front part where he sells it. There's the place where he makes bread, and behind that is a place where he's processing the wheat. He's making the flour.
That is wild.
It's incredible. So it's a lot of bakers are like, okay, big bags of flour come in on a truck, put it here. Would use that for the week, whatever. No, this guy is. We watched the process. It was really fun. The wheat's being, ground and the flour's being created. And by the way, I don't think I've ever smelled fresh new flour. It's a different experience.
How do you describe it?
Well, it's you were talking about, sourdough being alive. It's just very alive. It kind of it's got this sort of sweet, sort of savory smell, and it just feels like you're experiencing something in a live, in a process.
Yeah.
That's still got life in it.
That's cool.
It's really cool, and it feels different too. It has a different texture, and so then we brought that flour, out onto the, back into the kitchen and made baguettes with him. And then, of course, baked the product and got to eat what we made.
Why does he care so much?
I don't know. You'd have to ask him. I don't know. But watching him work this dough, and not just him, a lot of the people that I talked to and that I met, there's a certain reverence, a certain sort of devotion they have to this work. They don't think they're doing it for the money, They're doing it because they're in pursuit of, something really special. They love to create this product that then they can just immediately put out in their case and sell to the people who are lining up outside the door.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And there's that community connection. Yeah, you don't really get that with, larger commercial bakeries they're necessary, I suppose.
Sure.
And we can go to a store, a large grocery store, and, pull 3 or 4, loaves of plastic wrap bread. But this is something different. This is really like, farm to oven to patron.
It feels like it's work with purpose, right?
It is. It just. And here's the thing that's really struck me again and again, not just in Pierre's place, but in others. This is their daily exercise, their daily work. They do it all year, every day, and it's watching them work. It isn't drudgery. It isn't just like done with any kind of like a heavy weight or it's just like what they want to wake up to do.
Yeah.
It was kind of inspiring,
I think of this line actually from your New York episode when you were hanging out with Lynne Miranda. He says, every immigrant is a storyteller because you have to come here from somewhere else and start from scratch, and you have to decide what you are and decide what you're bringing with you. And that's such a beautiful thought
Yeah.
No surprise. But in this case, you're not talking about an immigrant, Pierre. You're talking about someone who's French. He's in France. But it's almost that same thing. He's deciding what he's bringing with him, right? He's bringing
literally what
this
you bring
culture
to the table.
Yeah.
You know, and how to attempt to be improving it constantly.
Yeah.
And not get into a rut.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing about bread is, as we talked about, you know, you're never going, there's no there. It's just always going to be a new, it's never going to be the same exactly.
Yeah.
It's going to be, I mean, unless you're talking about commercial bread, you know, mass produced.
Sure.
But when you're making bread, when a baker's working, they're in pursuit of perfection with the knowledge that they're never going to get it.
And if you do get it, it's gone in 10 minutes.
And not only is it gone, but you're not going to be able to repeat it tomorrow because guess what? It was kind of a happy accident. And not a happy accident, but it was just something that happened that
lined up that day.
That worked that day. That may not be the same tomorrow. And it's kind of, I relate to it because when I'm, you know, doing my work as an actor, especially on stage, you know, there'll be those moments where, you know, you find a moment, or you find and it happens, you know, right there on stage in front of an audience. You've been rehearsing a piece for a long time, and you've been maybe even performing it for a couple of months. But then one day, this kind of lightning bolt goes through you, and you go like, "Oh my God, that's what that means," or "That's how I connect to that particular emotion," or whatever. And then you try to that next day, or that if it's a matinee that evening, you try to do that again, and it's not coming. It's not coming the same way. It's just that's not what this work is. And so I connected to that. That sort of
so
endless pursuit of the magic.
Yeah, even though a baker's work is physical, like the product is physical, it sort of isn't because it's ephemeral. And it's almost like performance, right? Like you do a thing and hopefully it worked out in that moment. And if it did, awesome. If it didn't, you do it again tomorrow.
You got to try it again. And that's
it's
the thing
sort of
about
what life is like.
It is. And that's what bread is. It's exactly what life is. And that's what bread is too, that I discovered too. Is like there's so much, it's art and science colliding. But you know, the problem is that depending on the person's the baker's personality, you know, each individual character, one is maybe like 60-40, 60 science, 40 art. Some it's like 90 art, 10 science, because they're improvising more. They're not worried about. And then others are like, no, I have to weigh it down to the exact fraction of an ounce or whatever gram. And so there's within all these different characters, you have a different percentages of art and science.
Yeah. Well, Tony, it has been so great talking with you. Thanks so much for coming by.
Thank you. I'm not going to let you say goodbye yet, though, because I haven't tasted the baguette.
You can bring it with you.
Okay, I'll take it with me. I feel cheated.